Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. If there's one thing we've learned about Washington Commanders general manager Adam Peters, it's that he's not afraid to shake things up when the moment calls for it. Ever since he took the reins in Washington, he's shown a willingness to go bold, to make the kind of aggressive moves that send ripples across the league and get everyone talking. Remember the blockbuster trades that brought in cornerback Marshawn Lattimore, wide receiver Deebo Samuel Sr., and left tackle Laramie Tunsil? Each of those deals made headlines. Each of them announced that the Commanders were serious about rebuilding a contender from the ground up. But fast forward to the middle of the 2025 season, and things haven't gone exactly according to plan. Injuries have piled up, aging stars have started to show signs of decline, and what once looked like a dark horse Super Bowl team now sits at 3 to 5 through 8 weeks, clinging to hope, but looking more like a work in progress than a finished product. That's why the recent tease from one of the most respected insiders covering the team, ESPN's John Keim, has lit up Washington's fan base like a wildfire. The whispers started quietly, almost buried in an otherwise standard segment about roster management, but they grew louder as fans caught wind of it. The Commanders could be preparing for a major move during the 2026 offseason. Not just any move, but one that could alter the identity of the team's defense and shake up the entire NFC East landscape. Keim hinted that star defensive lineman Daron Payne could be the next big name on the trade block once this season wraps up, and that's got everyone asking the same question. Why would Washington even consider parting ways with one of its cornerstone defenders? The answer, as always in the NFL, lies somewhere between performance, money, and timing. Now, Daron Payne has been a monster this season. Plain and simple. He's been the kind of force you expect from a former first-round pick out of Alabama, a guy who wrecks offensive lines and makes quarterbacks nervous before the ball is even snapped. He's been the alpha in the defensive tackle room, stepping up his game after years of playing alongside Jonathan Allen. With Allen mentoring him and pushing him, Payne has tapped into a new level of dominance that many thought he was capable of but hadn't consistently shown before. This version of Payne, the aggressive, relentless, technically sound version, has been one of the few bright spots in what's been a turbulent year for Washington. But as every veteran in the NFL knows, sometimes playing your best football comes with a price. Payne's contract situation is about to become a major storyline. He's entering the final year of his deal, and you can bet that his agents are already eyeing another payday. This is a player who's been through this exact dance before. Back in 2022, in what was then a contract year, Payne exploded for 11.5 sacks and earned his first Pro Bowl selection. That performance forced Washington's previous regime to pay up with a massive extension, rewarding him for that breakout season. But once that ink dried, the results didn't quite match the paycheck. His production dipped, the consistency wavered, and some critics began to wonder whether Washington had overpaid for a flash-in-the-pan year. Peters, as a newer and more analytical GM, has made it clear he values sustainability and cost control over sentimentality. So the question becomes, is Daron Payne worth another top-tier defensive tackle contract, or is now the perfect time to cash in on his trade value before it starts to decline again? John Keim seems to think Peters might be leaning toward the latter. According to his report, Washington could be receptive to trade offers for Payne once the 2025 campaign concludes. That's insider speak for don't be surprised if they move him. The logic is easy to follow. The Commanders currently hold only 6 picks in the 2026 NFL Draft. No second-rounder, no fourth-rounder. After all the wheeling and dealing Peters did to bring in big names earlier this year, replenishing that draft capital would be crucial for a team still retooling its roster. And with Payne playing some of his best football in years, his market could be strong. Several teams, contenders in need of a difference-maker up front, would almost certainly come calling. A trade like that could bring back a first-rounder or a pair of day 2 picks, depending on the market, which might be exactly the kind of ammo Peters needs to finish building his long-term vision. Financially, the numbers paint an even clearer picture. Trading Payne during the 2026 offseason would free up $16.81 million in salary cap space for Washington, while leaving behind $11.2 million in dead money. That's not chump change. And with key players like quarterback Jaden Daniels and others due for eventual extensions, every dollar will count. The team's cap flexibility could be critical heading into that offseason, especially if they plan to reload through free agency or restructure other deals. The decision, then, could come down to pure economics. Can you justify paying elite money to a defensive tackle who's about to hit 30 when your roster still has glaring needs at other positions? It's a tough call, and it's exactly the kind of move that defines a general manager's legacy. But make no mistake, trading Daron Payne wouldn't just be a roster move. It would be an emotional gut punch for a fan base that's already been through years of instability and disappointment. Payne has been one of the few constants through multiple coaching staffs, ownership changes, and culture shifts. He's the kind of player that fans love to root for: tough, loyal, hardworking, and explosive on Sundays. His presence on the defensive line has given Washington an identity, one rooted in toughness and physicality. Losing that would sting. It would also signal, in no uncertain terms, that Peters is fully committed to ushering in a new era, one defined by his own vision, not the remnants of the old regime. Every trade, every signing, every draft pick since his arrival has carried that message, but moving on from Payne would be the exclamation point. Of course, this is all still speculation for now. Payne hasn't said anything publicly about his future, and Peters hasn't tipped his hand. If Washington somehow turns its season around, sneaks into the playoffs, and shows real progress, the calculus could change. Winning heals a lot of wounds, and it can buy time for both sides to work something out. But if the Commanders finish another year below .500, with no clear sign that they're closing the gap on the NFC's elite, Peters might decide it's time to retool once again. That's just the reality of team building in today's NFL. You're either all in on a Super Bowl window or you're stockpiling assets for the next run. There's no middle ground anymore. Fans, understandably, are divided. Some argue that trading Payne would be a mistake, that you can't keep losing your homegrown stars and expect to build a winning culture. They point to how much worse the defensive front looked whenever Payne missed time in past seasons. The run defense softened, the pass rush slowed, and the tone of the unit changed entirely. Others take the opposite stance, saying it's better to move him a year too early than a year too late. They see Peters' long-term blueprint and trust that he knows when to sell high. After all, the NFL is a business built on timing, and holding onto a depreciating asset has sunk many front offices before. The truth, as always, probably lies somewhere in between. If Payne does get traded, where could he land? That's a whole other layer of intrigue. You could easily see a contender like the Dallas Cowboys, the Detroit Lions, or even the Kansas City Chiefs making a call. Payne's skill set fits any scheme that values disruption up front. He's powerful enough to clog running lanes, quick enough to collapse the pocket, and durable enough to play 80% of the snaps. Imagine pairing him with Chris Jones in Kansas City, or dropping him next to Aiden Hutchinson in Detroit. That's the kind of move that could tilt a playoff race. And for Peters, that's leverage. Real, tangible leverage that could yield premium draft capital in return. Still, there's an undeniable irony here. For years, Washington fans begged for a general manager who would stop playing it safe, someone willing to make tough decisions and swing big when necessary. Now that they have one, those same bold moves might cost them one of their favorite players. But that's how the great franchises stay relevant. They make the hard calls before the rest of the league catches on. Peters proved that with his trades for Lattimore, Samuel, and Tunsil. Those moves didn't just fill immediate holes, they set a tone. And if trading Payne is what it takes to push this team closer to the long-term vision, don't be surprised if he pulls the trigger. As for Payne himself, no matter what happens next offseason, his legacy in Washington is already secure. He's battled through ups and downs, through coaching chaos and roster turnover, and has always shown up ready to fight. Whether he's wearing burgundy and gold in 2026 or another jersey entirely, his name will always be associated with one thing: relentless effort. The man has earned every bit of respect he's gotten, and if he's traded, it won't be because he failed. It'll be because the game is ruthless and timing is everything. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. If you thought the NFL offseason was just about trades and draft picks, think again, because Terry McLaurin just dropped a bombshell that has the entire league buzzing. And let's be honest, no one saw it coming. The wide receiver, known for his laser focus, electrifying speed, and consistency with the Washington Commanders, decided to speak out in a way that nobody else in the NFL has dared to. And when I say nobody, I mean literally, because what he said has sent shockwaves from coast to coast, from front offices to locker rooms, and even among fans who thought they knew everything about the state of their teams. This isn't just a player speaking his mind. It's a revelation, and it's got everyone questioning the pecking order in a league that prides itself on secrecy, strategy, and bravado. McLaurin, in a recent interview that's quickly gone viral across social media platforms, didn't just tiptoe around the obvious or make a generic statement about his love for the game or his teammates. No, he went full throttle. He stated, without hesitation, that the Washington Commanders are the best team in the NFL right now. That's right, he said it. And he didn't couch it in typical media-friendly terms. He didn't say, we're improving, or we have potential. He said the Commanders are better than anyone else, and the league, in his opinion, has yet to catch up. Now, if you're a fan of the league's usual narrative, this statement alone might feel like a lightning bolt. Because how often do you hear a player declare outright that his team is superior, especially in a league where modesty is part of the PR script? Rarely. Almost never. And that's why McLaurin's words are resonating so intensely. What's particularly striking about this revelation is the context in which it came. McLaurin isn't a rookie trying to make a name for himself with bold proclamations. He's been in the league long enough to understand the culture, the pressures, and the consequences of speaking out. He knows that statements like these can fuel rivalries, provoke critics, and even paint a target on a team's back. But instead of staying quiet, he chose to be bold, unfiltered, and fearless. He acknowledged the Commanders' recent struggles, the criticism they've faced, and the doubters who have written them off season after season, and yet he didn't flinch. He pointed to the organization's strategic moves, their chemistry, and the emerging stars around him as proof that Washington isn't just competitive, they're at the top. And let's not underestimate the ripple effect this could have across the league. Other teams are watching, executives are taking notes, and fans are already dissecting every word. Analysts are debating whether McLaurin's confidence is justified or if it's just the bravado of a player trying to rally his team and fan base. But here's the kicker. Insiders suggest that his comments might reflect an internal truth that the Commanders themselves have felt but haven't been able to publicly admit. Behind closed doors, coaches, front office staff, and veteran players have apparently been buzzing about the potential they see in their roster. McLaurin's outspokenness, according to some whispers circulating in the NFL, could be the first crack in a carefully managed narrative, revealing that Washington believes it's quietly building a powerhouse while everyone else is distracted by more traditional headline teams like the Chiefs, Packers, or Bills. What makes this rumor even more tantalizing is the timing. We're at a point in the NFL calendar where anticipation, speculation, and confidence collide. Teams are finalizing rosters, coaches are refining game plans, and the media is eager for any hint of controversy or insight. In this environment, McLaurin's statement acts like a fuse lit in a powder keg. Imagine defenders across the league reading his words and thinking, wait, the Commanders? Really? That instant doubt, that microsecond of hesitation, could give Washington a psychological edge, and we've already seen in sports history how a confident, united locker room can turn predictions on their head. If the Commanders walk into the season with the kind of swagger McLaurin exudes, no one will be laughing at them anymore. Of course, not everyone is buying into this narrative just yet. Skeptics are pointing to the team's past inconsistency, their struggles in big games, and the perception that they're still building towards something greater rather than being there already. And yet, McLaurin's reputation as a player who speaks the truth rather than media-crafted soundbites lends weight to his words. He's earned respect on and off the field, and when he talks, people listen. The rumor mill is spinning fast. Some believe he might even be setting the stage for a larger shift within the league, maybe signaling internal changes or hinting that the Commanders have quietly acquired or developed talent that could make them genuine Super Bowl contenders. Another fascinating angle is how this statement affects McLaurin's own legacy. Up until now, he's been seen as a standout receiver, a reliable playmaker, and a leader by example. But this move, this bold pronouncement, positions him as a vocal leader, someone unafraid to challenge the narrative and stake a claim not just for himself, but for the team he believes in. In a league that thrives on spectacle, drama, and personality, McLaurin might have just transformed from a star player into a headline-making icon, the kind of figure whose words alone can shift public perception and energize a fan base. Of course, there's the inevitable buzz about how other star players and teams might respond. Will there be rebuttals from other locker rooms? Will rivals use McLaurin's statement as motivation to target the Commanders more aggressively? Will analysts dissect every play from last season to argue for or against his assertion? The chatter is already starting, with insiders hinting that this could trigger a series of exchanges, subtle digs, and psychological games even before the first snap of the season. McLaurin's comment might have been casual in delivery, but its implications are far from casual. Ultimately, this isn't just a player expressing confidence. It's a cultural moment in the NFL. Terry McLaurin has broken the unwritten rules about what players say publicly, and in doing so, he's injected a new level of intrigue, excitement, and debate into the conversation around the Commanders and the league as a whole. As the season approaches, all eyes will be on Washington, not just to see if McLaurin's bold words hold up on the field, but to watch the ripple effect across rival teams, analysts, and fans who are now forced to reckon with the idea that the Commanders, long underestimated and overlooked, might just be the team to beat. The rumor, the Berberinho, the buzz, it's real, and it's happening right now. Terry McLaurin dared to say what no one else had the courage to speak, and the NFL may never look at the Commanders the same way again. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.